The moment has finally come. Before I start with the video, I just wanted to do a quick little note. And I guess I'm saying this because I've seen a lot of other people, when they talk about their adoption story, kind of disclaim this. But yeah, I just want you to know that everyone's adoption story is different. Everyone, what they have gone through with their individual birth parents, with their adoption parents, within their personal life, it's all completely different, you know. But today I just wanted to share my story from being adopted from Guatemala. Also, I'm totally outside, so if you hear cars passing by, I'm sorry. I can only do so much. It's just me and my phone, girlfriends. Just me and my phone. A lot of times I've tried filming this video. A lot of times I've tried finding ways to be able to talk about this, and I would just end up me crying all the time. But man, my heart, my soul is just so on fire of finally, like, it's time. I've put this off. Yes, for a minute I put this off purposely to talk to people because I needed a lot of time within myself to grow from this and learn from this and heal from all of this. But then I understand, and I do know that, yes, a lot of the time I just kept procrastinating because I wanted it to be the perfect timing, the perfect place, the perfect setup, everything. But in reality, you guys, you just come to learn that there's never going to be a perfect timing in your eyes. In reality, there's a time and place for everything, and the timing is now. The timing is when you do it. So we will start off by saying, yes, my name is Kayla. I was born and adopted from San Marcos, Guatemala, specifically Malacatan. It's a small village. Guatemala is right under Mexico. My home. When I was 9.5 months old. When it comes to me telling this story, I've told people bits and pieces, so bear with me. I might be jumping back and forth a lot because there's just a lot of information that I want to include, but I don't know how and everything. And here's my thing. When a lot of people share their adoption story, it's usually from the beginning to end. From the beginning of where they were born, the middle time, and then the end time of they found their birth parents, and this is the story and all that stuff. But with me, and this is why mine, in my eyes, is different, because my story hasn't even ended. My story is still going. I don't know how long it's going to be going for. So it starts out with my mom. My adopted mom, Judy. So she actually adopted one other daughter before me. She's 3 years older. We were both born and adopted from the same city, San Marcos, Guatemala, but different families. People always say we look alike. I don't see it. And so ever since she adopted my sister and I actually found this paper that my mom wrote about family and everything. And she said, since getting Kayla, I have assisted in the adoption of 12 babies, and 4 more are still in the process. It has been a wonderful experience assisting these families and seeing them become heirs to the wonderful blessings of bringing their family. I hope to continue with this worthwhile effort for years to come. I returned to Guatemala with one of the mothers this past August to pick up her daughter, and was amazed at how attached to the area I feel. I hope to be able to instill in my girls what a wonderful, proud heritage they have. So yes, my mom has helped some families bring in adoptions from Guatemala, and I cannot find the exact photo right now with me. I don't have my official adoption scrapbook that my mom made for me. My mom was very much into scrapbooking, thank goodness. But she, for a while beforehand she was going to adopt us, I know that she was looking all around the countries, all around the world, where she was going to adopt. I know China was one of them, but eventually she was able to just look more information from Guatemala. And when she saw this one picture of me, I was in this little red dress, she knew, 100% she knew, that's my daughter. She's mine. You know, God in the universe, she made her mine. And boy, am I so grateful, you know. So when it comes to more information about right after I was born, there's some unknown things within myself that I don't know. all I know is my birth mom, her name is Maria Cristina Morales. She gave birth to me, obviously, July 14th, 1996. And after that, she put me up for adoption. But instead of my mom didn't pick me up directly from her. I actually went into a little foster home for a few months, and I believe I lived in Guatemala City at that time. Foster family, I was lucky to find a couple pictures. And I know the final night of when it was time for, I think, for us to go home, my mom and I, for her to go home, this was one of the last few pictures. I believe they all met up for food. There's a foster family saying goodbye to me. I believe that's the foster parent. This was also prior, the day of that they picked me up. There's my mama, and there's me. And there's one of the ladies. And I can tell. I know my mama went to Guatemala because, oh, you guys, volcanoes, lakes. Oh my gosh, I can't. It's everything. It's my life. So, yes, I came to the States. I came back to America. My hometown, I would say, is Utah. And so because of that, I always tell people I was raised and grown up in a white American community, which is nothing wrong. That's my life. I'm proud to be grown up where I'm from. But I will definitely say for a lot of those years, never exposed myself to my culture, my Guatemalan culture, fully. Now, when it came to around the house, my mom, she would always make sure to bring souvenirs. She wanted to be able to keep in that culture pride within my life. And I remember there's a specific glass stand that my mom brought Guatemalan dolls from that were handmade. And crafted, and pictures and arts and everything, because she wanted to keep that in. And she took my sister and I to a couple Spanish classes here and there, but I never really picked it up on it. When it came to doing school projects, when it came to introducing yourself in class and you have to say, what's one interesting thing about you? I would always say, oh, I was born and adopted from Guatemala. Obviously, I always knew I was born and adopted from Guatemala. You know, being brown skin and my sister and I in a white family, I knew. And there was nothing wrong with that. I always took pride in it. My adoption was never a sad thing. My adoption was never a sad thing, or it was never wrong or mad or really asking much questions, to be honest. And I would always do school projects of choose a country you want to research on, choose a random project you want to do any research on. It was always Guatemala. Guatemala, the land of colors. They ate tortillas, they ate corn, their main language was Spanish, you know, just all the cute, fancy little projects you would do with it. But I would honestly have to say that's really as much culture integration that I gave myself, that I really allowed myself. And this part I don't really know how to explain, because I feel like this is a whole other story within itself. But for those of you who have been watching my videos, yes, my mom, she did pass away when I was 17 years old, 2013. Prior to that, a lot of my years, she was always sick. Whether it was she got knee surgery, being in the hospital and being rehabbed for that. Her kidneys almost shut down on her. Of course, those last few years of having leukemia and dealing with that and going to chemo and hospitals and doctors and hospices. And my sister and I, we lived with our family for a few months here and there. They would come live with us. We'd live alone. Those last few years of my high school before my mom passed, I definitely house hopped a lot. So a reason why I'm saying that is because, yes, a lot of my time growing up, my focus was never really to talk about my adoption, I guess, when it came to specifically about my birth mom, my heritage, my culture, what it was like and everything, because my life was so focused on that. My life was focused on, at that time, the now, the present. I was so in the present with focusing on my mom, focusing on my sister, focusing on my family, myself, my surround, about school, everything. So we never really took the time to focus on my adoption fully. So that went on for 17 years. Then, and I do believe, once the door closes, and another one opens. More opportunities, different perspectives, growth, everything. And I believe after my mom, well, I know that after my mom had passed, a whole new door opened when it came to Guatemala. So 2015, I moved up to a different city. I moved up north, and again, going about my life, everything. I know God and the universe brought two amazing people into my life, Carla and Jocelyn. And I talk about their names because they're totally fine with that. You've even seen Jocelyn in my videos before. Carla, you're gonna see her soon when we go to Guatemala. So I met those two at the end of 2015. And they were one of the first few Guatemalans that I met. Now again, rewinding, remember, in my life, my area, my population, my city, it was white culture. And when I say this stuff, I am not saying this in any way like unoffensive. I'm just being real of what I remember. I was only surrounded by the American white culture. I rarely saw Hispanics. I rarely saw African Americans. I rarely saw much of the Asian culture, a lot of that. So when I came up here, I saw them and I was like, oh my gosh, you're Guatemalan. Carla, we ended up working together and we were so excited. It was the first thing we connected on, you know, short, brown, cute. Later, towards the end, beginning of 2016, we ended up moving in with each other. So Carla, Jocelyn, and I. And ever since then, 2016, I was exposed to so much. I moved from like the east side to the southwest side of my city, and right there, culture shock. I saw people of all colors. They introduced me to so many people from Guatemala, from El Salvador, from Mexico, all of that stuff, speaking Spanish all over. What was casual to them was so different to me. I was like, what? This is crazy. Carla actually ended up taking me to my first Spanish market. Yeah, culture shock, you guys. I was surrounded by pan dulce, I was surrounded by markets, the music, the culture, the smell, everything, the colors. It was all just like, whoa, that's crazy. It was so exciting. It was the coolest thing ever. And obviously trying to speak Spanish a little bit here and there. So definitely I was getting a lot more, you know, I was diving myself a lot more into this, into the Latin lifestyle. Well, they have family in Guatemala. So at the end of 2016, they were like, hey, we're gonna go to Guatemala. You should come with us. And all my life, I always knew, obviously, my family, we all knew I wanted to go to Guatemala. But did I realistically see myself going to Guatemala? No. Why? Because I'm not fluent in Spanish. I didn't know anyone who was fluent in Spanish that would be wanting or willing to go to Guatemala with me. See, I just didn't know much about it, and people are always like, oh, you got to be careful, it's a third world country, the poverty rate is high, the crime rate is high, the sex trafficking is high, all of that stuff. So I never really had that person that was like, let's go. So then, like I told you, they invited me, and I was like, yes, this is the perfect opportunity. They have family that they're not only going to take me on the touristy areas, but they're going to take me to the real parts of Guatemala, villages, city, everything. And they speak Spanish, so they're my translators. Like, it all just made sense. So I was like, all right, let's do this. Oh my gosh, we bought the tickets. It felt unreal. My family was so excited. We were all so excited. I didn't know what to expect, but at the same time, because I was being immersing myself a lot into this culture, I definitely was, you know, preparing myself of what I was gonna see. And now, what I thought was just gonna be a simple trip was only the beginning, you guys, of everything. The beginning of seeing more to who I am, finding more of my identity, more of my culture. Such a beautiful experience. Getting on the plane, traveling was all fun. I remember looking out the window and I started seeing volcanoes just peeking out over the clouds, and I was like, what? This is happening. People say when they travel to a third world country, when they travel somewhere they've never been before, they can experience culture shock. And the only time I had the tiniest little like freak out was when I landed. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this. I don't know if I can do this. Just like, it was crazy. I was so excited. I was anxious, nervous, everything, so many feels. But that was the only time. Because for the rest of the month, I can tell you, when I step out of the plane, I remember even being greeted by La Banda. People were playing the music and just playing the culture sounds. It was amazing. And this is where I tell people, I have never felt such at home than anywhere else. I'm not saying that to diss my physical house home that I had in Utah or even being in Utah, but I felt home within my heart. There was this huge hole inside of me that I didn't even know existed until I went to Guatemala. And it was being filled every day. It was being filled with love and passion and excitement. I went there, I go there and I see me. I see my culture. I see people who are brown skin, short, dark, long hair, just like me. This is my culture. I see my roots. I see my families. I see my home. I see the volcanoes. I see everything. It's all part of me. And yes, I know growing up here in America and, you know, within my family, it's me based on outer environmental areas in life. But that, going there, was a different type of me within inside. If any of you can relate with adoption, please leave a comment, let me know. I would love to hear your story, your thoughts. So, all throughout, just hiking the volcanoes, going around the city, hearing the Spanish, you pick up on it fast, obviously. People, everyone that we met, I call them all my family because they basically are now. They all asked about my story, me being adopted, my adoption story, my mom passing away, what's going on with my birth mom up here, do you want to look for your family, all of that stuff. And so then finally the month came to an end. It was time to go home, and my life once again was never the same. You go to something called identity crisis. And I know people can experience identity crisis through a lot of things, but this is one that I did not expect. Because once I came home, again, my life, I was on cloud 9. I was like, this is my culture. I am Latina. I am proud to be Latina. I am proud to be Mayan. I haven't taken the DNA test yet, but I know, based on my looks and from like what a lot of people have said over there, like I am full-blood Mayan, and you can tell especially by my nose. I have the Mayan nose, which is so funny. Side note, I used to be very self-conscious about my nose. Like that was the one thing I was like wanting to get a nose job on. Hilarious. No one is touching this. So then I felt like I was living 2 different lives for a good year. Now, with things being changed and exposed, my family and friends know that, and they told me that they noticed it for sure. Because I was up here in my hometown with my friends, with Carla and Jocelyn, with, you know, my coworkers. They all knew I went from Guatemala. I'm meeting friends that are Latin, and so it's like I feel like I could be more me, because not only was I me, Kayla, growing up, but now I'm the new Kayla, of the exposed Kayla, of the rebirth Kayla, of being Latina, you know, diving into her roots. And then whenever it was time for me to drive down home to my hometown, it's just this whole switch. It just switched. I didn't know how to integrate my lifestyle and who I was to my family. Me also coming to realize that yes, I am loud, I am scandalous, I'm a lot of things. That being at home with my family, I felt like I had to be quiet. I had to be, what's the word, reverent. I had to be just what they knew the Kayla was before I went to Guatemala. I didn't really, like, yes, of course, my family asked how the trip was, and of course I explained how great it was and grand it was, but I never really got myself to explain what I was feeling inside. My views and what went down, what changed, what's changed in my life ever since. So because of that, I bottled it up for 2 years. 2 years telling people. So finally, this last year, it broke. I bottled myself up so much that I was spiraling down within myself, within my health, my wellness, my priorities, my standards, my morals, my goals, everything. It's crazy how holding something inside yourself and not sharing it with others can really affect you from the inside and out. Because I struggle with my identity, who I was, who I am, who am I? Am I Kayla from Guatemala or am I Kayla from Utah? And if I'm both, does it mean I love one more than the other? How do I balance it out? All of these questions. I didn't know how to balance it out, how to be all of it. But definitely this past year, past couple years since 2017, wow, my pride and my joy is me being adopted from Guatemala. As it always was, but even more now. Because yes, my family, my friends, they would tell me what Guatemala is like and everything, but I don't know. I didn't know what Guatemala was like. So now that I got to experience it, yep, I am Chapina for sure. I'm definitely still picking up on my Spanish. I actually went to Guatemala twice now. I went in 2016 and then I went in 2018 for a month by myself. I went to San Pedro and Quetzaltenango for a month, 2 weeks in each city, because I wanted to learn some Spanish. I'm like, hi, it's my culture. It's learning Spanish is so important to me. Es importante because it's mi cultura, it's my culture, it's my life. It's a beautiful language. Spanish will get you so far in life, and I don't want to be finishing my life at the end when the time comes and not know how to speak the language. I'm 22 years old now, almost 23 in a few days. My full adoption Guatemalan journey started when I was 19. I am so grateful for being adopted. Yes, it has so many highs and pros, but I know it does have its cons. And I never thought I would experience that. But later, I'll tell you, I did. For sure. Being adopted, not just the highlight for me, was a highlight for my mom too. You know, my mom, she never had kids of her own. My mother, when she adopted us, she was a single mom. So I grew up never having a dad in my life. My mom and I would always say it was us three girls against the world. That's always what we would say. And to see someone who, and this goes for the adoption parents, for you to be able to have a heart to love a whole other human being that didn't come necessarily from your body, to love them as much, if not more, you have to have a big heart for that. And I admire you, all of you adoption parents, for that. And I thank you for that. Because that's exactly what my mom had. She loved my sister from the beginning to end of her life to infinity, more than anything. I actually, this past couple weeks, have been going through this bin of mine when it comes to the process of healing. This is kind of on a side note. When it comes to the process of healing, when it comes to my mom passing away, I have been clearing out this bin and reading journal entries, reading papers and seeing pictures and things that I shut away for so long, and finally been opening them. And I found one of the notes that my mom wrote. And when I read this, oh my gosh, I actually have a video of my first experience reading it, but this really got me. And it says, "Please always remember how very special you are. I love you so much. You're part of me, more special than if you had come from my own body. You are a precious gift from our Father. Always remember who you are. I love you for all eternity, and eternity has no end." hence why I have the eternity infinity sign. Now coming back, that was kind of side note. I definitely would love to reach out to all of those who have been adopted, especially if they are from the third world country, to see the changes that they've seen in life coming from there to here. And especially if you guys have gone back to your home country. That's what I want to know the story. You were born from the country, you came here to America, and you went back to visit, and what is your life now? How has your life changed? What are your views? I know people have questions for me, but I have questions for you guys, those of you who are adopted. Because I pray that I can meet more people who have a similar story like mine. Adoption is so beautiful. Adoption is so much love. Adoption is immense amount of love. Adoption is scary, but so exciting. Pros, cons. There's so much to it. But we all have our own lives, we all have our own stories, and we all experience different ways. We all experience different levels and lifestyles of adoption. And I'm very grateful for mine, because mine's still going. I say that I've been hiding something for 2 years, since 2017. Growing up, everyone always asked, Kayla, would you ever want to find your birth mom? Me being the naive Kayla I would always say, no, I don't want to meet my birth mom because she's probably dead. In all reality, I think she's dead. Because you have to look that I came from the poverty area. She probably had passed away, whether due to crime rate, due to natural disasters, due to poverty, lack of food and resources, everything. I always felt that. And a few weeks before Carla, Joss, and I even left to Guatemala, they asked me as well, Caleb, would you ever want to consider finding your birth mom? And another thing that I would always tell people would be, my mom, my adopted mom, she's my mom, and she'll always be my mom. Which, yes, I still to this day stand 100% that, and I mean that. But my eyes and my heart has opened a lot more when it comes to a birth mom. And did I ever think that I really wanted to have the desire to find my birth mom? No. Until I actually went to Guatemala and came back. Things have changed.